What does a typical family dinner look like? Well, I prepare a pot of beans and fry up some potatoes, maybe some corn or similar items. Long before the era of fast food or ready-to-microwave meals, our grandparents had already mastered the art of transforming inexpensive ingredients into filling and satisfying dishes. That might be gravy served over biscuits, broth made from potato skins, or simply mixing together whatever leftover scraps were available in the house that could satisfy hunger. Today, let's journey back to Grandma's vintage kitchen and explore 25 straightforward dishes that sustained an entire generation through the hardest periods. Back in those days, the mac and cheese meal didn't arrive conveniently packaged in a ready-made box from the grocery store like it does today. It was crafted by hand, carefully, thoroughly, and filled with Grandma's affection. Grandma would begin by melting a bit of butter or lard in a pan, dusting flour over it along with milk, and stirring continuously until the blend thickened into a luxurious creamy sauce. This pasta blend was then transferred into a dish covered with breadcrumbs or crushed crackers for texture and baked in the oven until the top was crunchy and a lovely golden brown. This meal was genuinely a life-saving dish during challenging times. Back in the 1930s to 1940s, a pound of cheese cost merely about 15 cents. For a complete ingredient cost of under 50 cents, this homemade mac and cheese was sufficient to feed 6 family members. It delivered essential calcium and protein on days when meat was limited and costly. Our grandparents would likely shake their heads in amazement to witness modern versions of mac and cheese with all kinds of luxurious additions like truffle oil, because for them, simplicity and financial efficiency were the most important legacies. When finances were scarce, potatoes emerged to become the quiet champion of the kitchen. They were an affordable, readily available tuber that provided a lasting sense of fullness, offering plenty of starch at minimal expense. Potato soup is a dish so basic it couldn't be more straightforward, but it was a substantial, warming meal that delivered comfort on chilly days. Grandma would cube the potatoes and onions, then simmer them in water or milk if she could purchase it. She allowed the blend to simmer gently on the stove until the potatoes were tender and mushy, naturally breaking down to thicken the soup without requiring expensive cream or thickening agents. During the Great Depression, potatoes were incredibly cheap, only about 2 cents a pound. Even to optimize resources, Grandma might incorporate celery leaves, the green tops that most people typically discard today because the celery stalks were too valuable an ingredient to waste at that time. A steaming bowl of potato soup with the aroma of simmered onions, sufficient for 6 people, typically cost less than 20 cents. For many individuals, especially Irish immigrants, this soup wasn't merely a meal, but it also carried memories of survival. Potato soup helped ward off starvation and ensured that at minimum, the family still had a hot and calorie-rich meal to endure the long day. When potatoes were peeled for mashed preparations or potato soup, the peels were also completely utilized by our grandparents. It sounds amusing and somewhat frugal by contemporary standards, but potato peel soup genuinely was a lifesaver for many families during extremely challenging times. The potato peels were scrubbed thoroughly and kept thick, then simmered with onions and a bit of salt. The resulting broth would be thickened by incorporating a little flour, creating a warming soup that, although not rich, still satisfied an empty stomach. The expense to prepare this soup was essentially nothing. This soup helped extract nourishment and vitamins from every scrap of food. Government posters even promoted people to make this soup during World War II as a method to maximize valuable food resources. Did you know about this potato peel soup? Or have you ever heard of it? If you can, please try reviving this dish in your kitchen and then share your thoughts below the video. In all the survival recipes we've examined, none captures the resourcefulness in the face of shortage better than water pie. This pie carried emotional nicknames such as depression pie or desperation pie. When the family couldn't purchase milk, eggs, or cream, the essential components of a proper dessert, Grandma still succeeded in creating a small amount of sweetness. The recipe begins with an already baked empty pie crust. Instead of adding milk, what was added was water. The water was combined with sugar, a bit of flour for thickening, butter, typically the least expensive kind, or lard if necessary, and a touch of vanilla for fragrance. This simple blend, when baked, transformed into a filling with a dense texture, just like custard. Water pie was a method to create a dessert from virtually nothing. It helped preserve dignity and a sense of normalcy for the family during abnormal times. The unfortunate thing is that due to the profound shame associated with poverty, the fact that no one acknowledges their family ever prepared water pie has become a testament to the discretion and self-respect of that generation. This is a combination that nourished millions of people through many challenging generations: rice and beans. Dried beans were an exceptionally economical ingredient, costing merely about 5 cents a pound in the 1940s. Grandma carefully rinsed the dried beans, then soaked them in water overnight. The following morning, the beans were placed on the stove, simmering all day long over the heat. This slow simmering process not only softened the beans, but also allowed the flavors to infuse deeply. To add depth and fat, Grandma would season them with a bit of salt pork, or, if the family was more fortunate, a ham bone left over from Sunday dinner. In the southern United States, this dish became a tradition prepared on Mondays. That was the day when women in the family were typically busy with heavy laundry work, and the rice and beans could slowly simmer on the stove without requiring too much attention. A large pot of rice and beans could feed a family of up to 8 people. The fundamental principle of this dish, cheap, filling, and nutritious, still remains valid today, offering a lesson on how to effectively utilize the most basic ingredients. This soup has a less than appealing name, garbage soup, but it represents the extraordinary resourcefulness of our grandparents to the point that it was respectfully called perpetual soup. This was a revolutionary cooking approach, ensuring that not a single piece of nutritious food ended up in the actual garbage can. This perpetual soup pot was a constant fixture in the kitchen. It was always kept warm on the back of the stove, simmering gently throughout the day. This was the collection point for everything considered leftovers about to go bad. Vegetable peels remaining after trimming, small pieces of meat bone saved from dinner, wilted greens or aging tough vegetables. New additions joined the broth daily, continuously enhancing the flavor of the soup. Even potato water, which we typically pour away, was incorporated by Grandma to create body and boost nutrition. This soup was survival in liquid form. It provided a consistent source of vitamins and flavor for the family, especially important on days when there was no fresh food or meat for cooking. This dish has a more official name often used in the military: on toast. This is the breakfast that transformed excess meat drippings, something contemporary people typically discard, into liquid gold. Our grandmothers would meticulously save the melted meat fat from previous meals and use that very fat to make a roux with flour, stirring continuously until the blend turned a pale yellow. This blend was then mixed with milk or water to create a rich, savory gravy. This gravy was then served over soft, fluffy biscuits. These biscuits were also prepared from the most basic ingredients: flour and lard, because butter was too costly back then. When the family genuinely faced financial hardship, the gravy might contain very little or absolutely no meat. In those instances, people sprinkled plenty of black pepper on top to create a richer sensation, and as a small trick to deceive the eye, creating the impression that the gravy had more ingredients, or at least more flavor. Even today, this dish is still served at roadside diners as a legacy of economical cuisine. Cabbage was the working person's vegetable during hard times. It was hardy, simple to grow, inexpensive, and especially available even during the frigid winter months. From that, it was utilized to make braised cabbage and sausage, proof of the perfect blend of economy and rich flavor. Cabbage was sliced generously, then slowly simmered with any affordable sausage available. During the simmering process, the fat and rich flavor from the meat would render out, penetrating every slice of cabbage, making the cabbage softer and considerably more flavorful. This simple dish was frequently prepared by European immigrant families, bringing with them flavors and cooking techniques from the Old World. What's remarkable is that a whole head of cabbage cost only about 3 cents. Its economy lay in its ability to extend the meal. A large pot of braised cabbage and sausage could feed the whole family for 3 or even 4 days straight, just by reheating it. It was a practical solution, helping Grandma address the problem of protein and greens for hungry stomachs at minimal expense. A substantial and complete vegetable meal during times of scarcity. Before lentils became a preferred food among the healthy eating and wellness community, they were an essential survival food in poor families. Lentil soup is a prime example of maximum nutrition at minimum expense. Lentils had a significant advantage over other dried beans. They did not need to be soaked overnight, helping the cook save preparation time and cooking fuel. Grandma would simmer the lentils along with the most affordable vegetables like carrots or onions. Even during genuinely difficult times, the soup might just be beans, water, and a bit of salt, but it still provided substantial energy. Priced at only 4 cents a pound, lentils provided more protein than almost any other ingredient of the same financial value. Just 1 pound of dry lentils could be cooked into enough soup to feed a family for 2 days. This soup didn't just satisfy the stomach, but also ensured nutrient delivery, proving the nutritional power hidden in the most humble ingredients. Sloppy Joe's is an American food classic, but it genuinely came from financial necessity rather than just convenience. Grandma would brown a pound of ground beef, and then when finances were tight, she would extend that amount of meat by incorporating breadcrumbs or oatmeal to the mixture. This way, 1 pound of meat could serve twice the number of people. The meat blend was simmered in a sauce prepared from ketchup and spices, creating a rich filling that was slightly sweet and salty. This meat filling was then scooped onto soft, round buns. Ground beef was always substantially cheaper than steaks or other fresh meats. When served with bread, 1 pound of ground beef could feed up to 8 people. Sloppy Joe's became a classic meal that parents of that time loved for its economy and its ability to quickly satisfy stomachs. The sensation of biting into a bun overflowing with hot, slightly saucy meat filling was a rare feeling of being satisfied. If these stories bring back fond memories and honor the previous generation, let's hit the like button right below the video, and together we will preserve this valuable legacy. When meat was a luxury that couldn't be purchased often, eggs became the primary protein choice, easily substituting for meat in daily meals. Egg salad sandwiches became a staple dish, especially during the rationing period of World War II. To make this dish, hard-boiled eggs were mashed, then combined with mayonnaise. Mayonnaise was often homemade by Grandma to save expenses, along with mustard, chopped pickles, salt, and pepper added to enhance the flavor. This rich and savory blend was spread generously between 2 slices of bread. Eggs were an inexpensive and plentiful source of protein, priced at only 15 cents a dozen in the 1940s. Egg salad sandwiches not only provided protein, but also packed very well. It was a perfect dish to take on the road, frequently appearing in the lunchboxes of workers and children going to school, carrying the flavor of economy and thoughtfulness. The sensation of crispy pickles and the richness of the mayonnaise blending with the egg is an unforgettable experience. In the southern and southwestern United States, cornbread and pinto beans is a sacred culinary tradition tied to the resilience of working people. Dry pinto beans were simmered in a large pot, carefully seasoned with salt pork or ham hocks if they were available. Accompanying the beans was cornbread made from cornmeal, an ingredient that was always more affordable and easier to find than wheat flour. Cornbread back then typically had a rustic texture and wasn't overly sweet. The special aspect about this meal was how it was enjoyed. Cornbread would be used to soak up the bean liquid, a rich broth called pot liquor. This combination formed a complete meal, providing all the necessary nutrients from the plant protein of the beans to the carbohydrates of the corn. Even then, nothing was wasted. Leftovers would be fried into thin patties the following morning for breakfast. This dish is a lesson in using up the most basic ingredients creatively and effectively, being both filling and nutritious. American families created their own version of fried rice from leftovers long before Chinese takeout became widely popular. This period's fried rice is a perfect testament to the no-waste philosophy. Grandma would carefully spread the leftover white rice from the night before onto a plate and let it dry naturally. This helped prevent the rice from getting mushy when fried. Then, the following day, she would fry the rice with anything remaining in the refrigerator. That was typically scrambled eggs, a few small pieces of leftover meat, and vegetables that needed to be used up quickly. The expense to prepare this fried rice was almost zero, as it was made from ingredients that should have been discarded. Instead of using expensive soy sauce, people often use Worcestershire sauce to create a similar savory flavor that had more depth. This meal transformed the plain white rice from last night into an exciting and flavorful dinner tonight, a clever way to extend food for one more day. The sensation of eating light, crispy fried rice grains along with sweet vegetable pieces was a warming experience. Hot dogs, also called the people's meat, were an exceptionally cheap and convenient protein during financially difficult times. This simple dish typically included hot dogs, boiled or lightly fried, served with macaroni salad. Hot dogs cost only about 10 cents a pound. Macaroni salad was homemade by Grandma, combined with a simple mayonnaise, dressing with chopped pickles and spices added. This dish was a cold meal, especially loved by family members in the summer. On hot days, cooking on the stove could heat up the entire house, so a cold, easy-to-prepare meal like this was a genuine lifesaver. People often said that homemade macaroni salad was genuinely better after being left overnight in the refrigerator once the flavors of the mayonnaise and pickles had soaked deep into the pasta. This combination provided satisfaction, convenience, and economy, creating a humble but complete summer feast. Tuna casserole is a recipe that became popular in the 1940s and quickly revolutionized weeknight dinners for many American families. Its success was based on the economy and convenience of its main ingredient, canned tuna. Canned tuna was an inexpensive protein source, and most importantly, it did not require refrigeration for storage, which was very convenient for families who didn't have or couldn't afford a modern refrigerator. This casserole was prepared by combining canned tuna with egg noodles, then incorporating canned cream of mushroom soup. This blend was then transferred into a dish and baked. The final topping was crushed crackers to create crispiness and an attractive golden color on the surface. This tuna casserole had the ability to feed 6 people for a cost of under 50 cents. It became so popular that variations of this casserole were printed in countless community cookbooks across the U.S., becoming a symbol of post-war convenience food, a dish whose aroma evoked warmth and grandma's care. Baked potatoes are a humble dish, but were a canvas for culinary creativity during times of poverty. Their simplicity lies in baking large potatoes until the outer skin is crispy and the inside flesh is soft and smooth. To save valuable fuel, instead of using an electric or gas oven, many families baked potatoes directly in the hot coals of the fireplace or wood stove. This method not only cooked the potatoes, but also brought a distinctive smoky flavor, adding to the appeal of the dish. Priced at only 2 cents per pound, potatoes remained one of the most economical and effective ways to satisfy hungry stomachs. Toppings used were anything available. It could be leftover chili from the night before, a few pieces of crumbled bacon, or a spoonful of sour cream. Just one large baked potato was filling enough to become a complete meal. People just had to slice the hot potato lengthwise, squeeze gently to fluff up the flesh, and then add the toppings. It was a substantial, warm meal, demonstrating the cleverness of turning simple things into a dish with high nutritional value. The combination of grilled cheese and tomato soup is a classic duo, almost the national comfort food of the Great Depression era. The bread was grilled until golden and crispy, with the cheese layer inside, melted and savory. This dish was typically served with tomato soup, a soup that often came from a can. Campbell's tomato soup was a popular choice, costing only 10 cents a can, and could be diluted or extended to serve 4 people. During World War II, when butter was rationed and became scarce, families found a wonderful solution. They spread mayonnaise on the bread instead of butter for grilling. Mayonnaise was not only more affordable, but also created a crispier, more golden grilled bread crust. The tomato soup played an important role in cutting through the richness of the cheese, creating a balanced, cozy, and incredibly satisfying meal that provided comfort during difficult times. Stuffed peppers were a clever strategy Grandma used to use up leftover rice and extend a small amount of ground meat. This dish transformed a humble piece of meat into a complete and attractive meal, making dinner feel a bit more special. Large bell peppers were cored, then stuffed with a blend of cooked rice, ground beef or pork, and seasoning. To increase volume while still conserving costs, the filling was often extended by incorporating breadcrumbs that had been soaked in milk or water. Families with gardens often grew bell peppers specifically for this dish, helping to save on vegetable expenses. Once stuffed, the peppers were slowly baked in a simple tomato sauce. Each stuffed pepper was a complete meal wrapped up. It had vegetables, grains from the rice, and protein. The aroma of tomato sauce and baked peppers spreading throughout the house signaled a hearty dinner. This dish is a symbol of thoughtfulness and maximizing resource utilization, showing the ingenuity of women in turning cheap food into a favorite meal. The true magic of beef stew lies in its ability to transform tough, cheap cuts of meat into something tender, delicious, and hearty. Instead of purchasing expensive steak, Grandma would buy stew meat. These were the scraps and tough, sinewy pieces of meat that butchers couldn't sell as steak. The meat was quickly seared to lock in flavor, then simmered with the most affordable vegetables like potatoes, carrots, and onions. The key to this dish was the patience. The meat had to be slowly simmered for many hours on the stove until the tough pieces became tender and melted in the mouth. The aroma of simmering beef stew spread throughout the house on cold days, bringing a rare feeling of warmth and abundance. A pot of beef stew could feed the entire family for many days just by reheating it and serving it with rustic bread. It was the perfect combination of protein, starch, and vegetables, a simple but complete meal. Tater tot casserole is a particularly beloved dish in the American Midwest, beginning to appear and become popular in the 1950s when frozen foods and canned soups became affordable. This dish gave a feeling of modernity and convenience while still maintaining the necessary economy. The recipe includes ground beef combined with canned soup, typically cream of mushroom soup, and then this blend is covered with frozen potato tots arranged in neat rows. Like many other ground meat dishes, this casserole is very economical. 1 pound of ground beef could feed up to 8 people when combined with other ingredients. Tater tot casserole became an essential item at community gatherings and church potlucks, to the extent that people said there were always at least 3 different versions of this casserole brought to the event. On the list of survival meals, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches might seem simple, but peanut butter was genuinely a cheap protein source, and most importantly, it did not spoil and did not need refrigeration. This dish fed countless children during the Great Depression. Grandma would spread a thick layer of peanut butter, then add jelly. The jelly was often prepared from wild berries picked in season or from the most affordable fruit available to buy. A jar of peanut butter cost about 25 cents at that time and could make dozens of sandwiches. This dish quickly provided necessary protein, fat, and carbohydrates. It was not only nutritious and inexpensive, but also a symbol of normalcy, a familiar food that helped children get through the lean years. Cabbage rolls are a traditional dish of the Old World brought to America along with Eastern European immigrants. Like stuffed peppers, this was an excellent strategy to extend a small amount of meat using starch and vegetables. Cabbage leaves were quickly dipped in hot water to soften them, making them easy to roll. The filling inside was ground meat combined with cooked rice. During the toughest times, the filling might be mostly rice, with only a small amount of meat added for flavor and a savory sensation. The cabbage rolls were then slowly simmered in tomato sauce. This dish was not only a hearty meal that brought a cozy feeling, but also a blend of many cultures, demonstrating the resourcefulness in turning cheap vegetables into a valuable dish. In 1937, while the American economy was still recovering from the Great Depression, a revolutionary product was born: Spam. This convenient canned product quickly rose to become an essential staple in the kitchens of millions of families, especially during the harsh years of World War II. Spam's success did not come from delicate flavor, but from its economy and stability. In an era when refrigeration was still a luxury, or during wartime when electricity and supplies could be interrupted at any time, Spam's long shelf life transformed it into a true treasure. Grandma would slice Spam into moderately thick pieces, then drop them into a hot pan. These pink canned slices would quickly turn golden brown, crispy and salty on the outside, while remaining soft and savory inside. This crispy fried Spam was often served with scrambled eggs for breakfast to provide instant fat and protein, or sandwiched between 2 slices of rustic bread for a filling lunch. Priced at only 25 cents a can, Spam provided an important source of protein, salt, and fat, helping families maintain energy for work. Although we may have more choices today, these simple cans of meat genuinely saved countless families from starvation and were survival food for millions of people. Before it became the familiar cheap food of college students and young people living in dorms, ramen noodles were introduced to America as an exotic convenience food in the 1950s. Initially, it was an adaptation of imported cuisine, but it was quickly adopted by working families because of its economy and fast preparation speed. Packaged ramen was a small miracle. Just hot water and a few minutes resulted in a satisfying bowl of hot noodles. However, our grandmothers didn't just simply cook the noodles according to the package instructions. They applied their kitchen smarts to transform this simple dry noodle dish into a more nutritious meal. She often cooked the noodles in broth, seasoned with the included flavor packet, or to save more, she used cheap chicken bouillon cubes to create a rich broth. To boost the protein and greens content, she often found ways to add more. If the family had a small garden or even a window box, she would chop up some scallions. Especially a popular trick was to crack a beaten egg straight into the simmering soup pot. The egg would instantly form soft, silky protein ribbons, making the soup much richer and more nutritious. The hot broth, with the aroma of egg and scallions, made this simple bowl of noodles feel like a complete warm meal that effectively satisfied the stomach. Spaghetti and marinara sauce became a cozy and economical dish, an essential part of American cuisine thanks to the efforts of Italian immigrants. They taught their American neighbors a priceless lesson. Good food does not necessarily require expensive ingredients, just care and creativity in the cooking process. Marinara sauce is the essence of simplicity and economy. It is prepared primarily from canned tomatoes, an ingredient that is always cheap and available year-round. Canned tomatoes cost only 10 cents a can, an extremely affordable price to form the foundation of a substantial meal. Grandma would simmer the marinara sauce on the stove, incorporating basic seasonings like garlic, basil, and oregano. This slow simmering process allowed the flavors of the tomatoes and spices to blend deeply, creating a rich, warm sauce. Pasta itself is an exceptionally economical starch. A pound of pasta cost only about 15 cents and was enough to feed 6 people. This dish was a perfect meal for extending expenses while still ensuring the necessary amount of starch to keep you full for a long time, proving that family satisfaction and fullness did not depend on the value of the ingredients. While many American families focused on canned meat or dried beans, immigrants from the Middle East brought another cheap and extremely effective protein solution, shakshuka. This is an economical dish using eggs as the main protein source. Shakshuka is proof that you can create a dish with exceptional flavor that feels luxurious, even though its ingredients are extremely humble. The recipe is simply eggs poached directly in seasoned tomato sauce. The sauce is typically prepared from canned tomatoes, seasoned with basic spices like chili powder and cumin. Shakshuka has a significant practical advantage. It's a one-pan meal, very convenient and fast. Grandma gently cracked each egg directly into the simmering sauce. The eggs would cook slowly in that warm liquid, creating a golden, rich yolk and soft whites. This dish provided necessary protein and vegetables and was often prepared whenever eggs were the only protein they could easily and cheaply afford. In terms of expense, shakshuka was almost free to make. We have finished exploring the 25 dishes our grandparents cooked for survival during hard times. If this journey back through memory lane has brought back warm images of your grandparents' kitchen, please hit the like and subscribe buttons to join us as we continue this journey of discovering, preserving, and honoring this valuable past legacy. See you again in the next nostalgic stories and history lessons.